Welcome to the Media Nerds podcast. I'm Dan Vadabonker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
And we are doing Media Nerds this week because we had some big media news, and there's not a ton of stuff happening in the Star Wars universe. We'll come back to Star Wars probably next week. We did have some Star Wars news, and it will tie into the rest of the stuff. Kenton, Ray Stevenson passed away.
Yeah, the guy that everybody loved in the Ahsoka trailer.
Is that how he's being remembered?
Well, that was the first place that I was really aware of him, because he's in Star Wars and we love Star Wars. And in that trailer, you can't watch that trailer without going, wow, like what's that guy about? And he's a burly man. He's got a very nice and lovely beard. He looks, I think his lightsaber is orange. He just looks like a really interesting character in the same way that Skarsgård was an interesting character in Andor. He's got a similar kind of quality to him where you're kind of like, wow, I want to see what this guy's about. So the fact that he passed away, it was a big surprise where you see him in a trailer looking great. And it's
also Volstagg. That's what I know him as. Volstagg from the Thor movies. The big burly guy who I thought was, I used to think that was that other guy from the tough guy. Anyway, Leif Schreiber. I used to mix him up with Leif Schreiber all the time because they're big guys, right? They're both big guys. But yeah, it was a shock, right? But he has shot. So they've shot Ahsoka season 1 with him in it. Mm-hmm. It's already in the can and ready to be released very soon. But I guess that will be the last thing he will have done, right? Is Ahsoka?
Yeah. I think. I don't know if. Oh yeah, probably. That's probably true.
Oh, and he was also in your favorite RRR.
Yes, he's an RRR. He's
a bad guy.
He's a bad guy. Yeah, he's not in the whole movie, I don't think. It's been a while since I saw that film, but he's a notable character in a notable scene for sure. And it's earlier, like that's a 3-hour movie, so some people might be dissuaded from spending that time. But it's well worth watching that film. You could even watch it in 1-hour parts. But he's, I believe he's in the first hour of the film, if memory serves me right.
I also see here, I saw him recently in G.I. Joe Retaliation, which I watched. He was a Firefly in that, although I couldn't have told you that because I don't remember much from that movie. It's very, very vague and boring. But, it's sad. It's always sad, obviously, when someone goes before their time, and he was like 58 or something. He wasn't very old.
And we have no idea what his character's fate is in Ahsoka, but we'll find out. And if they need to, and we'll find out if they need to change it in some way, or if the character arc was supposed to be over at the end of the first season. Well, now it will be likely, but I'm just I guess we'll get that story after Ahsoka premieres. We'll find out, and probably there will be a tribute to him in the credits at the very least, and we'll learn more. And he was also at Star Wars Celebration.
Oh yeah.
Okay. There's a really nice interview. Once again, like he just a charismatic.
This is his first big. He's always kind of played side characters. This is his first big break character. Yeah. Right? He's probably a major character in this story.
Looks like it.
Sad. That's sad.
It is sad. Yeah. It's and I don't know if we have details about his death. I don't think we do, but it's too bad. He for me was the big takeaway in that trailer.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to know more about this guy. This is fantastic. He just looks, there's a lightsaber fight there clearly with him and Ahsoka, and it just looks, fantastic. So I'm still eager to find out his role in that series. And it's really too bad. It's a real shocker.
Mm-hmm. Well, so we'll see. We'll talk about that when it gets released, I guess later this summer. Of course, and then the other news, other celebrity death news, of course, we lost Tina Turner this week. Tina Turner, of course, legendary rock singer, and just, I don't know. I can't think of a bigger name to have passed in recent years. as far as music goes. David Bowie, maybe. David Bowie was the last big one like this.
I mean, that we had that Bowie, Prince, Tom Petty trifecta all in the same year. I know, which was brutal. I mean, that was one of the worst we've had. I think there's probably been more since then, but we're some of the greatest heroes of rock and roll and music are now at an age where we're getting, it's terrible, but we're getting kind of used to seeing it because there's so many vintage performers of that age who they cannot live forever. And like people like Jagger, Richards, Paul McCartney, Townsend, Daltrey, like kind of the greats who ushered in an era, the likes of which we'll never see again. And Tina Turner was absolutely part of that. Absolutely, sort of one of the great influencers in music history. And I saw her, by the way. I saw Tina.
Okay. Well, when did you tell us about it?
I was working as the editor at the Projector, the Red River College, as a student, and we got some free tickets came in, and we looked at the lineup was Tina Turner with opening act Lindsey Buckingham, lead singer of Fleetwood Mac. And I remember, Lindsey Buckingham comes out and he goes, "Don't worry, we will play Go Your Own Way. But first, we're going to play some solo songs."
I love that he led with that. He came up, I said, just hang on, guys. Right. Listen to this new stuff first. That's good. Like, he's already had it.
Right. You'll get it. And so, I mean, talk about like, he is a major star himself.
Right.
And talk about it like so major, like the songwriter for Fleetwood Mac. I shouldn't say the, I mean, Stevie Nicks writes songs too, and so do the others. But as far as I'm concerned, he's like the Brian Wilson of Fleetwood Mac. Like, he's the genius kind of behind everything working. And so to open for Tina says something that you're going to get Lindsey Buckingham as the opening act. And so he played his set, and Go Your Own Way was fantastic, which is what he closed with. I remember thinking, wow, he had a big band with him. So it was like seeing Fleetwood Mac. It was really good. So then I was there with a friend of mine, and he's like, "Well, that's all I wanted to see. So I'm leaving."
No.
Yeah. He's like, "I'm going to the lake." And I was like, I said, "Tina Turner's coming out. Are you crazy?" He's like, "Nope, I'm going." So I was like, "Okay, goodbye." And so that's one of the few concerts that I saw by myself. And so Tina Turner can't come. And admittedly, I might have been the only male of the only 25, 26-year-old male in that auditorium, because I think it was mostly women and women of a certain age. I'd say middle-aged women at that point were her fan base. And so I stuck around.
Mid-90s, right? We're talking about mid-90s. 94-ish, 96.
I believe she was coming off of Simply the Best, like peak Tina. Oh, God. Yes.
Okay, but here
corporate rock, the corporate rock hit. Yeah.
Yes. But there's different. Okay, finish your story about the concert. I just.
So she was big. She was like at the pinnacle. She was already an older person then, I think. I believe she was already 50, like for rock, right? Yeah. Older rock and roll performer.
I mean, she started in the 60s.
Oh yeah, she came out, and the show was so great that it was something that I was like, I don't know if I want to see this. And it was so great. I stayed right to the very end and got all the hits, everything you'd want, Private Dancer and Better Be Good to Me, and like all of the songs, What's Love Got to Do with It? All of the songs that were big off the Private Dancer album. And by the way, Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits wrote Private Dancer. And he has a song on a Dire Straits album called Love Over Gold. It's the same song, Mark. It's the same song. He said he just changed the lyrics for Dire Straits. And so Tina sang it. I was like, does anybody else hear this but me? So she played all of those songs. And then she came out, and once again, like all of the classic hits in a row, sort of for the encore. She had the backup dancers and singers with her. She had a great band. It was great. It was just a real, I was really happy that I saw that performance. So yeah. So even like, hey, I'm a guy in my 50s. I can barely get out of this chair, right? Like, so for somebody to be that age and to just knock it out of the park in a rollicking, rock and roll show review, really is what it was. It was, it was fantastic. I'm happy I saw her. She's great.
Yeah, I never did see her, and I admit I probably would have been like your friend at that time in the mid '90s. I was young, I was a teenager. I did not think Tina Turner was cool at that time. Although I will say that, like, my first introduction to Tina Turner was in the '80s, and it was "Private Dancer" was probably the first song I remember hearing of hers, because that was her kind of her second or first real comeback right after her initial kind of breakout. But yeah, and so that's what I thought of her as a Private Dance and What's Love Got to Do with It, and all you, as you said, all those songs that came out of that kind of carried her through the '80s into the '90s. But then in the early '90s, we had the movie about her life, What's Love Got to Do with It, and that taught me about her life, right? That showed me what happened. Oh my God, she went through all this crap with this asshole and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, this is such, and I watched it as a teenager in '93 when it came out, and I rented and watched it at home. I'm like, this is an incredible story. So then I started listening to all her old stuff and realized what she'd done before Private Dancer. And I think that for a lot of people, that was like an introduction to, holy shit, there was like a bunch of stuff she'd done before that. And she was really just a groundbreaker in a lot of different ways for women in music.
Yeah,
as absolutely. You take a sip of your tea. Go ahead, take your sip of your tea. It's okay.
And by the way, I don't want you to think I'm a narcissist, but it's got my face on the mug.
Where'd you get that from?
A friend of mine works at a print shop, and he made it for me on the on my birthday. So it's very nice, but it also looks ridiculous on a screen. He's drinking a cup with his own face on it from a cup with his own face. Yeah, I also think I saw yesterday all the tributes to Tina Turner on Twitter and stuff, and Mick Jagger saying like she taught him a lot when he came into rock, and you're like, holy shit, like it didn't even occur to me that Mick Jagger learned from Tina Turner. That's great. And they sang a duet together at Live Aid.
Remember is one of my favorite performances of all time. I absolutely love that one. Oh my God, I'm gonna look it up right now.
Yeah, that also I remember was really big in bringing Tina back to the masses another time. There was all these different occasions upon which that happened. Oh,
she's always present though.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I also remember she was on Late Night with David Letterman as a guest, and Letterman said, Tina Turner, we brought something for you. We have a gift for you, and it was a product called the Tuna Turner, in which you put tuna in a thing, and so so he hands it to Tina, and she's like, okay, let's do it. And she was like she was a good sport.
Only Dave would do that.
That's right.
Oh, it's so funny. Yeah, it was not the one I was thinking of. Sorry, the Live Aid is a good performance, but I was thinking of a different one. But this is State of Shock. It's only rock and roll. I do remember this one. Yeah. This was good. All those people that she came up with and she worked with and influenced over the years, just amazing. I watched, of course, it's interesting how the entire internet kind of reflects, like, you know how much of an impact a person has on people when everything all of a sudden goes Tina Turner, like the whole world, just kind of mourned her at once. And on TikTok, I saw that so many videos of her performances, like including original on Ed Sullivan and that kind of stuff, like old school stuff. That just shows how much she put into her performances and how amazing she was. And I think that's something she carried throughout her career, right? She was always about the high energy performances.
Yeah.
Didn't she have her legs insured or something like that? What was that story?
I think that's the classic myth.
Is it?
For someone who has great legs into their later years.
Is that right? But I think it started with her. I think Tina Turner started that.
Well, then there was entertainment.
I feel like I heard that when I was a kid, that she got her legs insured by, what's it called, for $1 million or something.
I think that's always a publicity play. Like Mary Hart on Entertainment Tonight, I remember, had a similar, like,
teeth? Yeah, it's true. Her teeth?
It was her legs.
Oh, her legs. Okay.
Yeah, as well. And I think it's one of those things. I think it's just a way to get your. It's like it'd be like Bruce Springsteen trying to trademark The Boss, where it's just like then you get another like 6 weeks of publicity. And then you find out at the end, you can't trademark The Boss. That's usually what happens. That's usually where that stuff goes. Or
that's true.
It's just a rumor that they insured. So who knows if it's true or not? I'm sure there's an article online that probably has it one way or another.
Of course, we'd be remiss not to mention her film career, her main film career being in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, I think is the only movie she did, or did she do other ones?
Oh, my goodness. That's a good question. But
I'm gonna look it up.
So people of our age would absolutely, or around our ages, I should say, would know Tina Turner from Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. And that was weird. That's a weird Mad Max because it's I think a valiant attempt to make Mad Max a bigger franchise. And I don't think it was altogether successful, but her appearance in it, I mean, people love that.
Yeah.
The law. Right or wrong, we had a deal. And the law says, bust a deal, face the wheel.
Bust a deal and face the wheel. Bust a deal, face the wheel.
Bust a deal, face the wheel. Yeah, it was an attempt to build out the world of Mad Max a bit more, to see more, and including all that weird, like, the kids living in the forest part where they were all like, they had to come back. I don't know. It was weird. Yeah, that was the only real acting role she had, although she was also in, I guess, Last Action Hero. I feel like she probably played herself. Oh, it says here Bull Durham as well, so I don't know what she was in Bull Durham. Lion King 2, the Simba's Pride, and maybe some other stuff later in her career. But mostly stuff related to her being a singer, like probably mostly playing herself, I would say, in a lot of these. But yeah, that role of in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, like that's again, that and Private Dancer was Tina Turner to me. That's how I knew her. What is her name in that movie?
I'll tell you whose name her name isn't. It's not Master Blaster.
No, I don't want to talk about Master Blaster.
I know. Neither do I, because that's one of the
problematic. Auntie. Her name is Auntie.
Oh, right. Oh, and of course her hit single from the movie, right? We don't need another hero.
Yeah, that's a great song.
Yeah, that's a great song.
But it's also part of her look in that movie. Like that's what I really liked about the movie, is it really kind of looked more developed than any of the other Mad Max films had been at that point. So that was a great film.
Yeah, the budget was bigger. The fact they had a hit single on, in the film,
a hit singer attached to it, right? That was a big deal in the 80s. You saw a lot of that where people would be like, okay, this person, Prince is going to do a movie. Let's do Purple Rain. And apparently he did a sequel to Purple Rain that I just learned about recently that I was not aware.
Under the Cherry Moon?
I guess so. I don't know.
Please don't watch that movie.
Well, that's what everyone said. It comes up in my trivia videos that I do. It comes up in trivia, and then people will probably like, I don't know what that movie is, and then people in the comments will let me know that it's don't watch it. Watch Purple Rain, but don't watch the other one, because I've never seen Purple Rain. That's one of the things that I have famously not seen.
Well, okay, this is controversial, but I think with Purple Rain, if you watch the last 30 minutes. You'll be like, that's the greatest movie ever made.
Oh, okay.
If you watch the rest of it, it's not. Once again, we're talking Master Blaster hasn't aged well. Probably neither does Morris Day throwing his girlfriend in a dumpster. That probably hasn't aged well either. Okay? Right. So there's certain things, or Prince getting Apollonia naked for no reason but a gag. A sight gag in which she is topless. That's probably hasn't aged well. But that last concert part of the movie, it's just like you watch that and you're like, this guy is a star. He's got the song "Baby I'm a Star," and there's no denying you're like, he is a star. This is incredible what he's doing here.
Yeah. So yeah, well, I'll put it on the list. I'll get to it at some point.
By all means, watch the whole thing. I don't think it's a bad movie, but I just think the movie builds to a great finale.
I find that it's like most films made in the 80s. It just, they were trying to, I don't know, it was just an era of like, I don't give a shit about stuff. And they just did a lot. There's a lot that didn't age well about films made in the 80s. Sure. Just the way that, I guess that always happens. Okay. Anything else about Tina Turner before we move on?
No, just that. Oh, well, she lived in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting, and lots of the articles mention, and it's true, she's an even bigger star in Europe than she is in North America.
Wow, I did not know. When I Googled her, it says Swiss singer. Tina Turner is a Swiss singer. That's how she's on Google. I'm like, wow, I did not know that. Was she born in Switzerland? No, she lives there. She's a Swiss citizen, and she lives. I mean, she hasn't worked for a long time, but she was, I don't know, I guess, living there. That's crazy.
Yeah.
My girlfriend is from Switzerland. I'm gonna let her know that.
Really?
Yeah. Well, her family is, like, she's from Winnipeg, but her dad is from Switzerland.
Wow.
So she's got family there still. She goes back there.
Well, apparently Tina lived a quiet life there in a beautiful chateau, of course, but I saw photos yesterday online of her playing stadiums in Europe, with millions of, those European stadiums built for European football. She like selling out that, like things like that. So I think it's true. She was an even bigger star in Europe. And this is one of those things, like I've been reading, like last week, Paul Simon released an album that was 30 minutes. It's a 30-minute album. It's one track, but 7 songs make up the single track. And I've been reading all over online, people going, this is probably his last album. He's telling us this before he dies. I'm like, what? Does somebody know something about Paul Simon that we don't know? And I remember with Tina Turner, there was some of that stuff as well, where there was some indication of kidney trouble, I think, or things like that. And you kind of don't think about it until it's suddenly there and the person has passed away. So it's unfortunate that, I mean, I guess if you pass away in your 80s, you've had a long life, and she had a difficult life, early life, but then, and ultimately, a great story about overcoming that stuff as shown in the movie. So, but it's I think I said yesterday, the world feels a little less exciting without Tina Turner in it,
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, I agree. It's just like, it's a little more bland.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, rest in peace, Tina. You'll be missed.
We don't need another hero. We don't need to know the way home. All we want is life beyond the
Okay, let's finish up with some recommendations. What have you been streaming lately, Kenton? What are some of the shows or movies or whatever that you have been watching? I'll start. We'll do it.
Yeah, you go first, because I have got a long list in front of me, and I'm gonna have to. I know which one I'm gonna choose. So go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. You go then.
Okay, I'm gonna say on HBO/Crave in Canada, and I think in the US it might be Hulu. There's a show called Mrs. Davis. Mrs. Davis. And Mrs. Davis, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to say, though, that Mrs. Davis is it's a oftentimes funny show. It's oftentimes thought-provoking. It's very entertaining. And it involves a future look at the evolution of AI.
God, I've had enough of AI.
No.
I'm so done with AI.
If you're done with it, this is your show.
Oh, okay,
all
good.
Right? Yes.
Okay.
That and that premise is revealed this is not any form of spoiler. That premise is revealed very early in the show, and then you can kind of enjoy what does AI know? What does it not know? What is it after? What do we as humans need to do? And as I say, there's a couple of actors in it from Silicon Valley.
Oh, cool.
And I'm just gonna leave it at that and say there's some good performances.
Who's the star of it? Who's Mrs. Davis?
Oh, I'm not gonna tell you that.
Oh, is it the
because reveal? It's better if I don't answer that question.
All right.
But the way you phrase the question will make my answer a spoiler.
All right.
So I'm not gonna spoil it, but it is well worth a watch. It's a quick, I think it's 8 episodes, maybe quick viewing, but very entertaining. And I actually think, like, as the show progressed, I thought, how can you do a finale to this? Like, what is the finale here? It almost seems like it's an impossibility to come up with a satisfying finale, and yet they land the finale.
Yeah.
In a meaningful way. I'd say they land the finale, and which is and I should also say the show is done by Damon Lindelof. So it's
what he did after Watchmen. He went on to this.
Right, but in the similar vein as Watchmen and The Leftovers.
Lost. Oh yeah, Leftovers. Yeah.
Yes, and Leftovers. Like, what is happening? Although Lost, I think it was kind of clunky in the end.
Yeah.
But the classic. What are we doing here? What is this about? Are we laughing? Are we angry? Is this why is this entertaining is a question I ask myself many times. But it is, but not in a predictable way at all. So it's Mrs. Davis on HBO/Crave in Canada. I think Hulu in the US.
it's getting confusing with all the streaming stuff. I gotta say, but I am loving. We're gonna have to do another episode of all the streaming things because I am really setting into. I'm seeing patterns here. I'm seeing an ecosystem developing among all these streaming services, amongst being able to watch anything I want. Well, not really. I mean, there's still quite a bit that I still can't get streaming, or that I have to quote unquote rent from iTunes, or not even that. It's not even what it's called anymore. It's all changing so quickly.
Yeah.
This is also on Crave, although I think it's through Stars, so it's all blending together, right? So you can subscribe to Stars through Crave, but the show's called Black Sails, which is basically like Pirates of the Caribbean for grown-ups. Is what it is, or it could be saying as Pirates of the Caribbean meets Game of Thrones, because it doesn't have any magic or anything, but it's got lots of gross stuff like Game of Thrones, and it's very realistic. It feels very realistic. It feels like it's an honest look at what pirate life was like in the Caribbean in this time. I don't remember the time basically, but it's kind of a cool. Who's in it? There's some recognizable faces. The big gorilla guy from Umbrella Academy is in it.
All right.
But he's not a big gorilla. He's normal, and he's got a British accent. There's a lot of people that I'm learning have British accents. And the guy who plays the dad in Lost in Space, the new Lost in Space.
Yeah. That
guy is the captain of this ship. But it's just this great, really
cool,
hard look at pirate life, and it's about the colonization wave is about to come. This is just at the era before everything is, and it even kind of talks about that kind of stuff, like the issue with colonizations, and all that stuff that happened back then. So it's a lot of fun. It's really I don't watch it. It's a 1 hour episodes. They're like Game of Thrones. They're very intense, very violent a lot of times, but it's really, really entertaining. And I'm really liking it. I think there's about 4 or 5 seasons or something like that on Stars, but they're 10 episodes a piece. So we're working our way through. I think I'm on episode 5 or something like that. So Black Sails, it's been really good.
I just wrote it down. I'll definitely watch that. That sounds great.
Mrs. Davis is the one I got from.
That's a quick one. That's a quickie. You could squeeze that in between episodes. It's okay.
All right. I'll squeeze it in between Star Trek, because I've also been watching a lot of Star Trek, but maybe we'll talk about that another time, because it could be a whole episode. We're talking about the new Star. Oh yeah, we did talk about Star Trek. We talked about the Star Trek finale, but even talking about the thing as a whole would be fun.
Yeah, to the consternation of people who love Star Wars, probably off the top of that, I heard from one of our listeners.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I heard from one of our listeners who said maybe don't talk about Star Trek at the beginning of Star Wars.
Wow, I guess we are in the minority of being fans of both, Kenton. You can't I'm shocked at that. When I still see that pushback from Star Wars fans, I'm like, come on, guys, it's the same fucking thing.
I love Star Trek. Yeah,
and aliens. And what's going on?
I like Star Trek before I liked Star Wars, but that's really all there was for sci-fi. That was it. And then when Star Wars came along, it was like, whoa, that's crazy Star Trek.
All right. Well, noted. Thank you for the feedback. We value all the feedback from our listeners.
We value our listeners. We value
very much
you.
So. Thank you. No more Star Trek talk, I promise. Except we'll say it in the beginning of the episode, and it won't be Star Wars nerds. It'll be media nerds or something. We'll figure it out. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Media Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Vadabonker.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the door hit you on the ass.